So do you think America's more racist today than it was in the 1960s?
In some levels, yeah.
Really? You think America's more racist today than it was in the 1960s?
What are they teaching these kids?
Am I prejudiced against people because I'm white and I don't have that much melanin? Are melanin people way better? We are gonna find out today. Charlie Kirk goes across the country on campuses. Apparently he challenges a woman about her prejudiceness against opposite melanin.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I am or who you are.
That was a lot of melanin.
A lot of melanin, but we're gonna find out today whether somebody can actually change their ways or if we are all prejudiced against the opposite melanin just because we're white.
All right, just get into the video.
Let's go.
Economic and social equality. I don't know really what that means, but maybe you could tell me.
Interesting. Yeah, it means that like all people kind of get the same opportunities.
Like Cuba? Like Venezuela?
No, not like Cuba or Venezuela.
Or like North Korea?
No, not like.
So, or like how the Soviet Union did it, right?
No, I'd like you to stop like interrupting me. I think that all those examples of like capitalist systems are ones that aren't.
The Soviet Union was not a capitalist system.
Yes, I know. And Venezuela is not a socialist system.
Sure it is. They nationalized their oil and gas reserves. They have nationalized healthcare, nationalized schooling. The government owns the means of production. How is it not a socialist country?
In this country, people don't even know what communism is anymore.
I have one word for you.
What?
Maduro.
Have you seen him?
Have you seen what's going on with Maduro right now? With Elon Musk challenging him to a fight and him going out in front of his entire police force and saying, Elon Musk. And he said, keep him out,
We did a
keep
video
him out.
about that, but...
We did a video on that. You should check that out.
But you said that Venezuela is not socialist.
It's crazy.
Do you understand what that term is? You are in college.
What are they learning in college? I'm really curious.
Well, thank God you didn't go. I went to college.
Neither did Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I wish I didn't go. 4 wasted years of my life because you have people like this.
Don't interrupt me. That's what she said.
Don't interrupt me, but then I'm going to say stuff like Venezuela is not communist.
Or she said socialist. Same thing.
Because of the history of U.S. interference, socialism cannot be like enacted as it should be.
It also sort of functions under the guise of socialism. I think a lot of the
Venezuela is still corrupt as fuck.
Yeah, but can you show me any socialist country that works?
Yeah, most of Europe.
So maybe Norway, Sweden, or Finland?
Yeah.
But they're more economically free than America.
How so?
On the World Economic Freedom Index, they're ranked higher than America.
And so what does that like mean?
So lower taxes, less regulation. So they're not, I wouldn't consider them to be socialist countries.
They provide healthcare for all their citizens.
So does Cuba. How does that work?
I'm sure.
Because they're like Norway, Sweden, Finland also has a homogenous population.
Oh, I want to know about this.
Yeah,
why do you think? Why is that sort of thing?
Because it's 6 to 7 million people.
They don't need a homogenized society.
You don't need it.
But what is? I don't know.
They have low rates of immigration.
Can you explain to me why?
And so they have less people coming in their country every year that need Medicaid equivalent type social programs.
Can you explain to me why
they have the strictest immigration policies in Europe, in Norway, Sweden, Finland, and they don't pay for a national military. 70 to 80% tax rates for the highest earners, of which I oppose completely. Sweden has full school choice, which I'm sure you support, right?
I don't.
Oh, okay, but Sweden has full school choice.
I mean,
Sweden's also ranked higher.
If all schools are funded equally, then yeah, I would support school choice. But the fact is that schools in like richer areas have better funding and thus give people better education as opposed to poorer areas.
Okay, first of all, schools in richer areas have more funding because they charge out the buttocks.
Bit me directly in the buttocks. They said it was $1 million wound, but the Army must keep that money because I still ain't seen a nickel of that $1 million.
The buttocks.
The buttocks.
The buttocks.
In order for people to attend that or kids to attend that. This is absolute gibberish. I want to get to the point where it says woke student learns her ideology is prejudice against the opposite melanin.
I'm curious, though, because I don't agree with Charlie on one point. I'm going to read this out. This is from the freedomandprosperity.org. So Swedish taxes versus American taxes per tax burden. The average American worker total tax burden is 31.7% of earnings compared to 42.9% of average Swede.
So what Charlie Kirk said wasn't completely accurate.
It wasn't true.
And where'd you get this from?
This is from freedomandprosperity.org.
Okay.
So it is because it is a socialistic society and you want to spread the wealth around more and have more government-run programs, they tax you at a higher bracket, especially if you make over $250,000 a year. And so Charlie Kirk, what he's saying isn't totally honest. In terms of socialism, though, he is right that socialist societies and economies have never work long term. They would work in a bubble with a certain smaller size population. But when you're in a country like America with 300+ million people, it doesn't work across the entire economy sector. In smaller European countries like Liechtenstein, it might, because there's maybe 1 million people. But other than that, if you're going and trying to scale socialism for all of these different government, programs and societies, anything that's government run versus private sector is going to be way longer to get done, more expensive to get.
Yeah.
Like,
I know a lot of people that came from Canada, and they always raved about how they have free healthcare. You don't have to worry about anything
until you stand in line for 3 months.
And then they came here and they had something they needed to get done.
And they got it done.
And it got done right away. And they're like, wow, you don't have to wait 3 or 4 months for everything?
Yep. That's right.
Who would have thought?
And thus poor people who can't afford to choose that rich school, who can't commute, who can't afford the tuition, are not going to be able to get that level of education.
So why is it that we've spent more on education the last 60 years federally, but our test scores have gotten worse? Why do you think that is?
Because testing is not a measure of...
How about graduation rates? I mean, any metric you use, our schools have gotten worse over the last 50 years.
So funding,
where have they gotten?
I'm sorry?
Where have they gotten?
Baltimore. There are 7 schools in inner city Baltimore where they can't find one kid in 8th grade. Oh, so wait. So do you think America's more racist today than it was in the 1960s?
In some levels, yeah.
Really? You think America's more racist today than it was in the 1960s?
What are they teaching these kids?
I mean, yeah, I want to say I think net racist.
I mean,
do you want it to be more racist?
Yeah,
that's what it's
No, it's not. Actually, I think we're significantly less racist. So you can't blame racism for why these communities are not doing well.
Really?
No, significantly less.
Could you not blame, for example?
Well, let me okay. So in the 1960s, blacks weren't allowed in the National Basketball Association. In the 1960s, the Civil Rights Act hadn't been passed until 1965. In the 1960s, blacks were not allowed to go to the same schools as whites. So that's my metric. So we passed the Civil Rights Act in 1965.
Kind of anecdotal.
Yeah,
how about this? We had a black president elected twice in 2008 and 2012.
Oh man, so
How is that anecdotal?
What are you saying?
Anecdotal.
How is that anecdotal? That doesn't make any sense to me. He's trying to plagiarize his own philosophy.
If you're going to say that we are more racist now than we were in the 1960s,
there's no conversation to be had.
The foundation of when you're saying something is racist, it means that you're being oppressed by people of a different group because of who you are.
Of your skin color.
Yes. Back in the day, like he said, you weren't allowed to go to the same school. You couldn't walk through the front door of a restaurant. You couldn't eat with white people. There is nothing in the United States that makes it so that a white person like me has an advantage over you. Actually, because of DEI and other programs put into place.
Affirmative action.
Yeah, affirmative action. You're more likely to get hired than me.
Yeah.
Just if you have the same qualifications as me. In the NFL, they had, I think, 3 coaches that were black at one point, which... again, is about 10%. They're 11% of the population.
Yep.
And people were outraged because they weren't at least close to half.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying it's based on the percentage of your population because white people are a majority.
Yeah, I would say if anybody that wants to argue with us on this, I would highly recommend going to look up Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell is an incredible economist, and he's worked in philosophy. He's written multiple of best-selling books, and he's black. And he is a conservative. But his view on the world and not being a victim has driven him to be a scholar in his field that most people on both the left and the right respect his opinion and point of view.
Wow.
So let's keep going to see what the rest of this video is.
Since a black president was elected, we fixed racism,
we
right?
quintupled. No, we haven't finished racism. We're significantly less racist. So the talking point of the far left is that the inequities that the black community and minority communities are experiencing is because of systemic racism. In order for that argument to be true, America would have had the same sort of amount of racism over the last 60 years or gotten more racist. Any sort of logical analysis of history would show we're significantly less racist today than they were in the 1960s. So then what is it?
Any level of racism is still racism.
I think there's individual racism, but the idea that there's widespread systemic racism does not exist.
Okay, what about, okay, so here's an example.
Agreed.
Do you guys want to, okay, so up until probably the mid-70s, like neighborhoods could choose not to sell homes to black people. That's why a lot of black people live in like certain like parts of town, you would say. And
that's racist.
Those are also generally parts of town that have like underfunded schools and stuff like that.
So the Asian community went through the exact same type of discrimination, yet the Asian community is the richest community per race in America.
So are you implying something about the black community?
No, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying the Asian community did not have a series of social welfare programs designed at them, such as federal welfare systems, broken public schools. The Asian community were one of the poorest communities in the 1940s. Now they are the richest community per race in America. How did that happen?
So you're saying black people are...
They were taking advantage. Black people are poor because of the Democrat Party, who got them addicted to government benefits, stuck them in clustered urban areas, put them in broken schools.
Is that
The Civil Rights Act by Lyndon B. Johnson was the main reason why the nuclear family got disbanded. The nuclear black family got disbanded. The single mothers were more incentivized to be on welfare as a result of the father not being in the home. So they said, okay, if the father's not going to be in the home, we pop out babies and then we get a government check. And that's horrible.
The welfare system. You are incentivized to have kids without a father.
Yes.
And you're incentivized not to work. And it shows... So many times we've said this. If you don't want to be poor, you graduate from high school, you don't have kids until you're ready, or when you're married, and you get some kind of job. There's a reason why in the black communities that seems to be the most overwhelming thing. And
not as a whole, but
overall that seems to be the case. So it is a cultural issue.
It's a cultural thing.
It is not.
We're not saying this for ourselves. Candace Owens said, and a lot of conservatives, even people on the left, have said it is a cultural problem.
Yes.
And if you have your songs glorifying sex, drugs, and alcohol and just banging chicks all the time, then what are you going to get out of that? Like, you got to push education. You have to push cultural issues that matter to young black families, getting the fathers back in the home, establishing that strong nuclear family front. And if that doesn't happen, then it's going to be very difficult for them to get out of this hole.
Yeah.
And we're all for, the black community and getting out of poverty and establishing good school systems and having opportunity zones and funding black colleges. We're all about that. But when you take the victim narrative, and the funniest part is that they're advocating for the black community and they're not even black.
My favorite thing is when white people do that. Yeah. They have no idea what they're talking about. Even if you were to ask them, they would say that they're racist just because they're white.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Because I'm white and I don't have as much melanin, I'm therefore racist. And subconsciously, even before when I was born, I have privilege.
Before I met a black person.
Yeah, I have privilege, David.
I was privileged because even if I didn't know they existed, they are out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's so stupid. All right. I think this is a good place to end it.
Let's see if there's anything.
Unless we have some.
The Democratic Party did all of that.
Yes. Show me one urban city where there's a Republican mayor. Show me one urban area where there's more Republican congressmen than Democrat congressmen.
Like currently?
Yes, or even the last 50 years. It's Democrats that run the urban cities. Oakland, Portland, Chicago, Philadelphia. But these are the most, so you said thankful, but these are the worst parts of America. The most murderous, the most bankrupt, the most hopeless are all run by Democrats.
Yeah, but there's no way you can make some sort of causation if there's no sort of control for that.
Yeah.
You can't say it would be worse without a Republican. No, there's no way you can make that sort of inference. It's impossible. So you just can't make that inference.
Okay,
you don't have data for it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
just stop trying to make shit up.
Okay, can I give you examples?
No.
No? Oh, you don't want facts?
They're not facts.
Do facts bother you?
No.
Okay, so
you are going to make up fake facts.
Republicans run cities, municipalities, and counties, have much lower levels of poverty over 30 years, better run schools, more likely to balance their budget, much more business competitive.
That could be cool.
9 out of 10 of the most business competitive states in America are all run by Republican governors. And Republican, yeah, it is actually.
I mean, that doesn't...
Utah, Nevada, Arizona,
that doesn't necessarily have any sort of relevance to your point.
So why would you say that the broken inner cities in America all have Democrat mayors, and the best run states all have Republican governors? Why would you say that?
I would say possibly because people see that Democratic mayors and Democratic government officials can fix the broken system.
Have Democrats fixed anything in the last 60 years?
No, because,
no, you're right. Okay.
Because we had a Republican-controlled Congress.
It's one of those things.
It's honestly frustrating to listen to.
Yeah, it's frustrating. For me, I really see the value in not so much of a polarizing conversation. I think Charlie's intentionally being polarizing because he gets a lot of views. And that's fine. And I know what he's going after. He's trying to attack the mindset of polarization and of a systemic racism.
He's saying facts
within college. Yes, he is, 100%. The problem is the way that students are being taught in colleges nowadays. The professors, I think it's 11 out of 12 professors at most colleges are liberal, like very left-leaning. So my thing is, I don't mind having liberal professors, but there needs to be a balance. If you're going to have, 11 out of 12 liberal professors, I would say at least 5 of those should be at least somewhat conservative or independent or moderate thinking. Because when you have the young people of our generation, specifically Gen Z, being discipled by these professors, Charlie has to come on campus and he just gets absolutely yelled at. He gets cursed, incredibly derogatory things at him, and he has to constantly fight these ideologies.
Well, university now teaches you how to be brainwashed very easily. They teach you what to believe, but they don't tell you how to critically think. And that's been the problem, is that most people of this generation, Gen Z, I don't want to say most, but a lot of them, they just see whatever they see and, oh, wow. So wait, I am this way? I'm naturally racist? Okay. And like they just take on beliefs without understanding where did that come from?
Yeah.
What are the agendas of the people that are trying to get me to believe this?
Yeah.
And if you don't think critically, then you're not going to be able to get ahead in life at all. And so that's the problem, is what he's saying. It's true. In Democrat-run cities, especially the ones that always vote Democrat, New York, California.
Any Democrat city. The worst, 9 out of the 10 most crime-ridden cities in America are run by Democrats. And that's a sad statistic. I really wish that we would come together as a country and unify, but it's become so polarizing from the right and from the left. But guys, we want everybody to come together. We are a channel of unity. We don't want to come on here and bash the Democrats or the leftists. We want everybody to come together under united front. So if you agree with this message and you want to see us post more content that's going to bring this country together and unite the Republicans and the Democrats once again to be the United States of America, make sure to like and subscribe and watch for more videos, and we will see you next time.
We appreciate it. Peace.
Peace.